Hi, fifth grade. Today's math lesson is lesson 4.10, and it is over rounding and estimating with decimals. We have already talked about how to round decimals whenever we are adding and subtracting them back in Unit 2. That was our focus. But we probably better review our rounding skills first because we have to use those rounding skills in order to do our estimation. So first, let's review our rounding skills. Round to the nearest tenth. You have to pay attention to the place value. You have to know where you're rounding at. Remember, the tenths is the spot right behind the decimal. So on number 1, the 9 would be in the 10th spot. So I'm going to underline it, and then I'm going to look behind. Remember, 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. This is less, so my 9 is going to rest and stay the same. Anything that comes in front, I'm going to copy down. Remember, anything behind it goes away, so 0.9. Let's try another one with number 2. We're still rounding to the 10th, so that is the 1 right behind the decimal, which is a 1 this time, so underline. Look behind. 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. What is my 1 going to do? It's going to change to a 2 because this was big behind here. So that becomes a 2. Everything in front gets copied down. Everything in the back goes away, so 0.2. All right, and one more rounding to the 10th. So underline the 4. That's in the 10th place. Look behind. 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. There's an 8 behind there, so my 4 needs to bump up to a 5. Everything in front gets copied down. Everything behind goes away. 0.5. Let's go down to the next set. It says round to the nearest hundredth. So now we're in a different place value. Remember, the hundredths place is 2 spots behind the decimal. So for instance, on number 4, the 3 would be in the hundredths place. So I'm going to underline the 3, look behind him. What is that 3 going to do? Is it going to stay the same or bump up? It's going to stay the same because there's a 2 back there. Everything in front, I copy down. Anything that was behind goes away. Let's try another one. In number 5, the hundredth spot would be this 0. Look behind. 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. What is my 0 going to do? It's going to change to a 1 because that was a big number back there. Everything in front, I copy down. Anything behind disappears. And one more to make sure we've got it. Rounding to the hundredths place still, that would be the 8. So underline him. Look behind. What is my 8 going to do? It's going to go to a 9. Everything in front stays the same. Anything that was behind goes away. Okay, so 5 or more, let it soar. 4 or less, let it rest. We practiced a lot with rounding back in Unit 2, so that was a quick review, but you should have gotten the hang of it within those few examples. Now today, we are going to use rounding to do some estimation and then finding our exact answer. So first, let's practice with just some normal numbers here. It is asking me first to do an estimated answer. So let's look at 24. Is 24 going to round to 20 or 30? Which is it closer to, 20 or 30? It's closer to 20, so I'm going to write that right here. It's going to round to 20. Then let's look at 39. Is 39 going to round to 30 or 40? 30 or 40? It's going to round to 40 because it's closer to 40. All right, if you can use that zeros trick here, 2 times 4 is 8, and then add 2 zeros. So my estimated answer is about 800. About 800. Now it wants us to find the exact answer. So in order to do that, I'm going to stack these up. 24 times 39. And I'm going to multiply just like normal. So 9 times 4 is 36. Put my 6, carry my 3. 9 times 2 is 18 plus 3 more. 19, 20, 21. Done with my 9, so X him out. When I make my X's, I have to make an O, And now I'm working with the 3. 3 times 4 is 12, so put my 2, carry my 1. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 1 more is 7. And then I'm going to add these up. I'm just going to write my answer up here because I'm almost out of room. 936. Then I want to check. My estimation answer and my exact answer should be pretty close. Those are pretty close. I know they're a couple hundred apart, but we rounded quite a bit. The 24 went all the way down to 20, and then the 39 only jumped up 1 to 40. So they are pretty close. Now, if I got 2,000 something right here, that would not be close at all. But if they're pretty close like that, you probably did it correctly, and then I would go to the next one. On number 8, let's round to the nearest whole number. So I'm going to underline the whole number, and I'm going to look behind. Is this 12.3? Is it going to stay a 12, or is it going to bump up to a 13? Will it stay a 12 or bump to a 13? It's going to stay a 12. It's 12.3. 3 is less than 4, so it's going to rest. All right, and then go to my other one. Rounding to the nearest whole number, so underline that 3, look behind. Is that 3.7 going to round to a 3, or is it going to round to a 4? 3.7, is it going to stay a 3 or go to a 4? It's going to go up to a 4. All right, 12 times 4, that should be a multiplication fact, so we could use our chart in case we don't know, or we could work it out, but I do know that 12 times 4 is 48. So my estimated answer is going to be 48, which means when I solve for my exact answer, I should get something close to 48. So let's solve for the exact answer and see what we get. 12.3 times 3.7. All right, multiply like normal first. So 7 times 3 is 21. Put my 1, carry my 2. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 2 more would be 16. So put my 6, carry my 1. And 7 times 1 is 7, plus 1 more would be 8. X that guy out. When I make my X's, I have to make an O. And now I'm going to go with the 3. So 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6. And 3 times 1 is 3. And then I'm going to add all of that up. Again, I'm just going to write it over here because I'm running out of room. So that would be a 1. That would be a 15. So put my 5, carry my 1. That would be another 15, so put my 5, carry my 1, and that would be a 4. And then I need to see where my decimal goes. So I have 2 numbers behind the decimal, so it would go right here, 45.51. 45.51 is pretty close to 48. 45 and 48, those are pretty close. So I probably did it correctly. All right, we have one more here to do. And this time, let's round to the nearest tenth. Let's round to the nearest tenth. So that's 1 spot behind the decimal. So I'm going to underline the 7. That's the tenths. And look behind. Is my 7 going to stay the same, or does it need to go up? It's going to stay the same. And then everything in front stays the same. So that's going to be a 0.7. And then my 0.2, look, it's already rounded to the nearest tenth. There's nothing else we can do with that. There's no numbers behind it, so we'll just keep it the same. Makes our lives a little bit easier. Now remember, we can ignore those zeros in the front of decimals. So that's just a 7 times 2, which I know is 14. And then I just have to see where my decimal goes. Well, I have 2 numbers after my decimal, so it would go right here, and I would add a 0 up front. 0.14. Now, if you couldn't see 0.7 times 0.2 and know that that was 14, stack them up and work them out to get your estimation. That's what we do if we're not sure right off the top of our head. I could see, oh, if I covered up those front zeros, 7 times 2 is 14, and then I'll just count where my decimal goes. Okay? If you need to stack it up, make sure that you get the right answer. That is our estimation. Now we need to find our exact answer, and to do that, we're going to stack up the original numbers. So 0.74 and 0.2, and we're going to multiply those. Remember, these zeros in the front I can ignore, so I'm going to scratch those out. And then we go with regular multiplication. 2 times 4 is 8. And 2 times 7 is 14. So I got 1, 4, 8. And then I'm going to count where my decimal needs to go. Oops, sorry, you couldn't see that. There you go. Count where my decimal needs to go. It's 1, 2, 3 numbers back there, so it would go up front here, and I would need to add that 0. I'm going to copy my answer over here onto my exact answer line, 0.148. And while I'm copying that down, I was kind of looking at my estimation. Those are super close. We estimated 0.14, and our exact answer was 0.148. So they are very, very close, which means I probably did it correctly. Okay, very nice job. Hopefully that was kind of a review for you. Really, it's nothing new. We're just combining a couple of skills that we already knew how to do with decimals, rounding them, and then finding the exact answer. On your homework assignment, make sure that you pay attention because I will tell you what place to round to. So like when we were doing this one, I told you we're going to round to the whole number. And then down here, I told you we're going to round to the 10th. I'm going to tell you on your assignment, so make sure that you read closely so that you know which place you're supposed to be rounding to. Good luck. Do your very best. Bye.